Restoration Shaman is the strongest Mythic Plus healer right now. It pumps out huge healing, it's easy to learn, and it can even do large amounts of damage while keeping everyone alive. So let's start with the build. This is the Farseer Mythic Plus build. The spec tree is pretty rigid, so you're not really moving points around here. One thing to note is we don't take Healing Rain in Mythic Plus because dungeons have a lot of movement, and for Healing Rain to have value, the group has to stand in it. Since we're not playing with the Totemic Hero talents, we can't move the Healing Rain with Totemic Projection, so it's not worth here. Instead, the spec revolves around empowering Riptide and empowering Chain Heal, since those are your bread and butter heals in keys. And then we've got the class tree. This is where you've got some actual flexibility. I've placed a few points into Purge, Improved Purify Spirit, and Fire and Ice, but all three of these are optional. Purge is only needed if the dungeon has enemy buffs that you need to dispel. If not, you can move this point. Improved Purify Spirit is the same idea, but for curses. No curses in the dungeon, you can drop the point. Fire and Ice is just a flat 3% increase to your fire damage, which isn't a big deal, so it's a safe filler, but it's not mandatory. If you're not taking those, good alternatives include Earth Grab Totem, which adds extra crowd control. A great example is the first boss in Eco Dome, where roots are really helpful. Poison Cleansing Totem, which is practically required in Weakaura because of all the poison debuffs, or even Earth Elemental, which gives you a 5-minute cooldown. It's not common, but in a pinch, it can act as a pseudo tank if your real tank dies and you need something to grab threat while they get him back up. So these points are situational. Look at the dungeon you're running and place them where they'll actually matter. If you just want to copy the build, the import string is in the description. Now let's go over your baseline healing kit, the spells you'll constantly use in Mythic Plus. First up is Riptide, since we're running Farseer. You'll have 3 charges of Riptide, it's instant, it puts a heal over time effect on your target, and it's going to be one of your top healing spells across the entire dungeon. Riptide also activates a secondary effect called Tidal Waves. Every time you cast Riptide, you also gain Tidal Waves, and this buff changes how your next heal behaves. It makes Healing Surge more likely to crit by 30%, or it makes your next healing wave or chain heal more effective by 20%. Now here's the thing, you're almost never going to use healing wave in Mythic Plus. It's too slow and it doesn't keep up with the dungeon damage. Instead, you'll spend your tidal waves on healing surge when only one person needs healing, or chain heal if 3 or more people are hurt. That's your bread and butter loop. Riptide to keep people topped and generate tidal waves, then surge or chain heal depending on how much damage is going out. Shaman also brings a ton of buffs that add value before you even cast any heal. Sky Fury gives your whole group extra mastery for an hour. Always drop this at the start of the dungeon. Earth Shield can be put on yourself and one other person. Usually, I just drop it on a tank at the start and I just leave it there the whole run. Earth Leaving Totem buffs your weapon for an hour. It's extra healing for you, and it also saves you gold because you don't need to buy Algari Mana Oil. And finally, Water Shield. This one buffs your mana regen. Every time you crit, you gain mana back, so make sure it's up at all times. Those are like your setup buffs before the key even starts, so think of them as like your nuclear setup sequence. Now that we've talked about the basics, let's add the Farseer layer on top of your baseline kit. Farseer is all about your ancestors. When you cast certain abilities, they'll join in and replicate your spells. That means every healing surge, every chain heal, every lava burst, and every chain lightning you cast, your ancestors are also casting it. There are 2 main buttons that summon them. Unleash Life on a 15-second cooldown, so you can use it multiple times in one pool, and Ancestral Swiftness on a 30-second cooldown, which makes your next spell instant, free, and stronger. Unleash Life is especially important this season, not just because it's a button that summons an Ancestor, but also because it empowers your next heal. If you use it on Riptide or Healing Surge, it's 35% stronger, or if you use it on Chain Heal, the heal is 15% stronger and it bounces to 1 extra target. So Unleash Life is basically like a mini healing steroid on a short cooldown that you want to use as many times as you can. Now here's the kicker, when you pair Unleash Life with Ancestral Swiftness, the effect multiplies. You can, for example, use Unleash Life, pair it up with Ancestral Swiftness, which will make your next chain heal instant, cost no mana, hit 25% harder, and bounce to another target. That's massive value. And with the current tier set, Ancestral Swiftness summons an empowered Ancestor for 15 seconds that deals 10% increased damage and healing, and if you have the 4 set, Ancestral Swiftness increases the damage and healing of your spells by 25%, also reduces the mana cost of them by 25%, and increases the recharge rate of your Lava Burst and Riptide by 50% for 8 seconds. So Farseer turns Unleash Life and Ancestral Swiftness into the core of your kit. You press them often, they summon ancestors that replicate everything that you do, and they make your heals and damage much stronger while saving you mana. Now that we've covered Unleash Life and Ancestral Swiftness, let's put them together into an actual combo. The beauty of Farseer is that your ancestors replicate everything that you cast. That means when you summon them, you can turn the exact same setup into huge DPS or massive healing depending on what your group needs in that moment. For example, if you want to deal a lot of AoE damage, you pop Unleash Life, Ancestral Swiftness to summon your ancestors, then you just spam Chain Lightning into the pack. Every ancestor also casts Chain Lightning, so you end up blasting the opener. Honestly, when you got like 3 ancestors out and they're all pumping Chain Lightning, the damage is insane. It feels like you're competing with the DPS on the meters, and honestly, sometimes you might even pass one. Alternatively, if the group is getting low and in need of healing, it's the same opener. You pop Unleash Life with Ancestral Swiftness to get your ancestors out, but this time you can just cast Riptide into Chain Heal. Every ancestor mirrors your cast, multiplying your throughput and stabilizing the group almost instantly. Outside of your big ancestor combos, your DPS toolkit is really simple. Flame Shock is your damage over time effect. It deals some damage, but its main value is that it enables Lava Burst procs. When Flame Shock is on the target, your Lava Burst has a chance to become instant. Lava Burst is your strongest single target nuke. You've got 3 charges instead of 2 thanks to Farseer, and you can either cast it normally or use it for those instant procs. In practice, I wouldn't really hard cast Lava Burst unless healing is completely under control. The best time to use it is right at the start of the boss, when you know you can just dump all 3 charges and get some free damage before healing is needed. After you burn through your Lava Burst charges, your filler for single target is just Lightning Bolt. For AoE, it's Chain Lightning, and the more enemies there are, the better it gets. Honestly, in most trash pulls, if you get your ancestors out, you don't even bother with Flame Shock or Lava Burst. You just spam Chain Lightning until people need healing. It's clean, it's effective, and it's free damage. But remember, you're a healer first, so DPS is only something you do when the group is safe. If everyone is topped off and you're just standing there twiddling your thumb, don't just sit there with your thing in your hand doing jack shit. Press Chain Lightning, throw out the Lava Burst, contribute something, man. Every bit of damage helps the group. Let's go over your major cooldowns, because this is where Restoration Shaman really shines in Mythic Plus. Healing Tide Totem is simple but powerful. You drop the totem and it just pumps out healing for the whole group over time. Use it when you know a big AoE hit is coming or during a pull where there's constant group damage. Doesn't require any setup, you just place it and let it work. Ascendance is your healing steroid. You basically go Super Saiyan. When you press it, it immediately heals the group for a good chunk, and also for the next 15 seconds, every heal you cast is duplicated at 70% effectiveness and spread to the party. It's especially good to pair with Cloudburst Totem, since all those duplicated heals fill the Cloudburst and then explode at the right moment for even more healing. Spirit Link Totem is a unique one. Instead of raw healing, it shares health between everyone inside the circle. If one person is about to die, Spirit Link redistributes their health across their entire group, keeping them alive. You can also use it for mechanics where the group needs to soak something together. The trick is positioning. Everyone who needs it has to be standing inside the Spirit Link area, so communicate that with your group and drop it where they'll stack. And finally, Cloudburst Totem. This one works a little different. It has 2 charges, a very short cooldown, and you should be using it constantly. While it's active, Cloudburst stores a portion of your healing, and when it bursts, it releases all that healing back to the group. By default, it explodes at the end of its duration, but here's the important part. You can also press it again to release it early, exactly when you need it. That makes it much more reliable than just letting it pop on its own. The real strength of Cloudburst comes from synergy. Drop it before you use a big ability like Unleash Life with Ancestral Swiftness, or before Healing Tide or Ascendance. All that healing gets banked into the Cloudburst, and when it bursts, it stabilizes the group instantly. Because it has such a short cooldown, you should be basically using Cloudburst every single pull. Now let's talk about your utility. This is where Restoration Shaman really carries dungeons without people even noticing. You've got Shear, which is one of your best interrupts in the game. It's only on a 12-second cooldown, and that puts it on par with most melee DPS interrupts. The difference is you can do it from range. In Mythic Plus, you should absolutely be high up on the interrupt count, sometimes even number 1 on the group, depending on how well your teammates are paying attention. Don't sleep on this button. Every interrupt you land prevents damage, and that's free group survivability. For movement, you've got a couple of tools. Ghost Wolf is simple, turns you into a wolf, you just run faster, easy. You've got Gust of Wind, which is a leap forward on a 20-second cooldown. It's great for repositioning during mechanics. And of course, you have Windrush Totem. This one speeds your whole group if they run through it. You won't need it in every dungeon, but when you do, it can save people, like when the group needs to kite or reposition quickly. And your crowd control is honestly some of the best for a healer. Capacitor Totem is an AoE stun, and with talents, it has a mechanic where every enemy you stun reduces the cooldown by 5 seconds up to 20 seconds total. That means if you're stunning packs of 6-7 mobs, you'll get Capacitor back very often. Having a healer with a repeatable AoE stun is a huge deal in Mythic Plus. Thunderstorm is another AoE crowd control. By default, it's a knockback, but you can talent into Thundershock, which instead knocks enemies up and interrupts all their casts. It's only a 30-second cooldown, so you can use it every pull if needed. So to wrap it up for stats, as Farseer, you'll want to prioritize Critical Strike first, and then Haste, or maybe sometimes Versatility, depending on the gear you find. Crit and Haste or Crit and Verse Piece are especially strong in this build. If you want my exact build, the import string is in the description. I've also linked the Weakaura I use in there. If you find this guide helpful, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more World of Warcraft guides just like this one. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.